Okay, let's dive into something really quite thought-provoking today. Imagine a big party, right? Lively chat, great food, sounds nice. Well, this is sort of the starting point Pastor Shawn uses in his sermon, Jesus Feast, a party for everyone. But he uses it to set up this really profound challenge. So our mission here is to unpack the key insights from the sermon, looking at social dynamics, power, and what real inclusivity actually looks like. Pastor Shawn kind of kicks things off, painting this picture of a party atmosphere. Maybe think party hats, noisemakers, that sort of vibe initially.
Yeah, but what's fascinating and what Pastor Shawn does brilliantly is he immediately pivots. He uses that celebratory image, that party feel, to actually reveal something much, much deeper. It becomes a way to challenge our basic assumptions about how we gather, who we invite, and critically, why we invite them. The sermon itself opens with Jesus at a dinner party, just
Yeah.
watching, observing the scene.
Right, he's there, but he's not really the focus. More like an observer taking it all in. And what he sees isn't exactly the picture of joyful harmony you might expect at a party.
Okay, so this is where it starts to get really interesting. Pastor Shawn talks about Jesus' first observations, and they're not about the canopies. He first looks at the guests. He sees them, subtly maneuvering, kind of debating who gets to sit where. Everyone's trying to get that seat of highest honor right next to the host.
hmm And Pastor Shawn points out the motive pretty sharply, doesn't he? He says basically there's always something you gain by being near the powerful one, right?
Exactly. It's rarely just about enjoying the company or the meal itself. There's an angle.
And what Pastor Shawn really exposes here, I think, is how even our, well, seemingly innocent social events are often these hidden arenas for power dynamics. It's this ingrained human thing, this drive for status, for maybe getting something back later. We do it almost without thinking.
It's true. That whole idea of prime seating, you see it everywhere, not just ancient dinner parties. Absolutely. Boardrooms, even online groups.
Yeah.
Who you're connected to matters.
And the critique doesn't actually stop with the guests, does it? Jesus then turns to the host, the person throwing the party. He asks essentially why these people, why your friends, your family, your rich neighbors.
Yeah, and Pastor Shawn really digs into the likely motive there. Is because you're hoping they'll invite you back, return the favor, maybe seat you next to them at their party. So the party isn't really for the guests at all. It's for the host's own gain, their own glory, in a way.
Wow. That's a pretty stark way to put it, self-serving generosity.
It is. And Pastor Shawn argues Jesus is basically saying this applies to us, too, to our parties. Jesus is sort of highlighting this fundamental human habit of creating hierarchies, even when we think we're just being social. We tend to invite people who can offer something back, social standing, connections.
Yeah, it challenges that whole idea of giving without expecting anything in return.
Right. Gathering becomes less about genuine connection and maybe more about, I don't know, strategic networking.
And the sermon explains why this is such a problem. Pastor Shawn really nails it down. He says the issue with having the rich and powerful at one end of the table and the poor, the marginalized, the crippled, lame, blind, as the text says, way down at the other end, or maybe not even at the table,
Yeah.
is that the further down the table you are, the less your voice matters. It gets silenced.
That's a really critical point. It's not just about physical distance, is it? It's about your voice, your perspective, basically becoming insignificant, dismissed. And when certain voices are ignored, we all lose out, don't we? We miss perspectives, ideas, the richness diversity brings.
So faced with that, with being unheard or unseen, what's the typical reaction? Pastor Shawn uses this incredibly vivid, almost brutal imagery. He talks about pushing, throwing elbows, maybe stepping on heads, kicking teeth, doing whatever it takes because there are only so many seats at that important end of the table. And your voice, it just has to be heard. It captures that desperation, that fight.
It really does. And he doesn't just leave it as a general observation about human nature. He brings it right to us, asks us directly, whose voices aren't being heard today in our world? Who are we basically saying, nope, sorry, you're not on the list? And then he makes it local, which is powerful. He asks about specific places. North Robinson, Bucyrus, Crestline, Crawford County, Galleon, whose voices are ignored or maybe too afraid to speak, even right here.
Wow. That makes it very real. And then he asks us to reflect on that feeling. How do you feel when your voice isn't heard? Where does that sit in your body? It's not good, right? We've all felt it. And he wonders, is that feeling what drives us, that desire to elbow our way up, just so we can finally be heard?
It's a deep question about our motivations, that link between feeling unheard and striving for status.
Okay, so Jesus is basically, as Pastor Shawn puts it, pooped on the party because it represents everything his coming kingdom stands against. But he doesn't just criticize, he offers a completely different vision, an alternative. He says, when you give a banquet, invite the poor, the crippled, the lame, and the blind.
Right. And the key part,
You will be blessed because they cannot repay you. That's the radical twist.
exactly. And Pastor Shawn stresses this isn't just, a literal command to throw specific kinds of parties, although that's good too. It's much bigger. Jesus is setting in motion this vision of a coming kingdom. A kingdom with, get this, no bouncers, no guest lists, no ins or outs, no seats of power and honor, no kiddie tables, and no more silenced voices.
Wow. That's a complete overhaul of how things usually work.
It's a total inversion, yeah.
Yeah.
Status, repayment, irrelevant. Everyone's in based on their inherent worth.
And to help us picture this, Pastor Son uses a really beautiful symbol, the communion table. He says, when we gather there for that party, eating that bread, drinking that cup, we're all guests who could never, ever repay the invitation. Not a single one of us.
And for anyone unfamiliar, communion is that shared symbolic meal in Christian tradition, a powerful symbol of community, of unconditional welcome. Pastor Shawn really leans into that. He emphasizes it's not just us, it's everyone. Peter, the apostles, patriarchs, popes, bishops, Luther,
Yes.
pastors. Not this pastor, not you. None of us can earn or repay this invitation.
And yet he says, here we are, unworthy, without payment, invited anyway.
Week after week, party after party, that is the gift of this table. And his description is key. A table with no end, no head or foot, no higher or lower seats. Just a simple table, a simple meal shared. It's such a powerful picture of radical inclusion.
So wrapping that part up, Pastor Shawn basically says Jesus throws a way better party than us. And it's not just the water into wine miracle stuff, though that's cool too. It's better because the philosophy is different. It flips our whole hierarchy thing on its head. He invites everyone, knowing they can't pay him back.
And because we know what it feels like, right, to be on the outside looking in, to
Yeah.
be stifled, Jesus gets that struggle to be seen and heard.
Yeah, and he says, my party is different because my kingdom is different. It's a party designed for grace, not status.
Okay, so taking that incredible vision, Pastor Shawn then brings it back to us, to our lives, our communities. He challenges us to look at our own gatherings, maybe literal parties, maybe
Yeah.
metaphorical ones like work teams or church groups, and ask those hard questions. Who is missing and why? Is it their fault? Is it ours? Maybe a bit of both.
Oof. That forces some real self-examination, doesn't it? Are our parties, our gatherings actually reflecting that coming kingdom? Does all really mean all when we say everyone's welcome, or are there still invisible guest lists?
Exactly. Are we just inviting or are we truly welcoming, making genuine space? And he circles back to that local question, which I think is so important. He asks us again about North Robinson, Bucyrus, Crestline, Crawford County, Galleon, whose voices are ignored. We're too scared to speak up here.
Yeah.
And then, crucially, what might they say? What stories might they tell?
Yeah, and how much richer would the conversation be? How much more lively the party, even the Sunday gathering he mentions, if we actually dared to listen?
It highlights what we lose, the vitality we miss out on when we don't create those truly safe, inclusive spaces. It's not just about being nice, it's about wholeness.
So, bringing this all home for you listening right now, what does this mean as you go about your week? Pastor Shawn ends with this really beautiful challenge, a call to action almost. He says, my dear siblings in Christ, there are so many who long to be heard. There are so many whose stories deserve to be heard.
And that leaves us with a really vital question, doesn't it? Could we be that listening ear, the one someone has been longing for? Pastor Shawn suggests something pretty profound, that when we really tune in to our neighbor, when their voice is no longer stifled, in that voice, we might actually hear the faint whisper of a God who throws one heck of a party.
That's a powerful thought, that the divine isn't just in the big pronouncements, but in the quiet act of truly hearing someone else.
Yeah, it suggests that making real space for others, listening without needing anything back, isn't just kindness. It connects us to something bigger, transformative.
So it's really about building that better way to gather, isn't it? Where everyone's truly at the table, every voice adds to the richness. Maybe if we choose to really listen, well, maybe that's when the real party, the one where everyone truly belongs, actually starts.